Why did you carry out the attack? To agitate the political enemies of my people into action, to cause them to overextend their own hand and experience the eventual and inevitable backlash as a result. To create an atmosphere of fear and change in which drastic, powerful, and revolutionary action can occur. To add momentum to the pendulum swings of history, further destabilizing and polarizing Western society, in order to eventually destroy the core nihilistic, hedonistic, individualistic insanity that has taken control of Western thought. Finally, to create conflict between the two ideologies within the United States on the ownership of firearms in order to further the social, cultural, political, and racial divide within the United States. This conflict over the Second Amendment and the attempted removal of firearms rights will ultimately result in a civil war that will eventually balkanize the US along political, cultural, and most importantly, racial lines. This balkanization of the US will not only result in the racial separation of the people within the United States, ensuring the future of the white race on the North American continent, but also ensuring the death of the melting pot pipe dream. Why did you choose to use firearms? I could have chosen any weapons or means. I had the will and I had the resources. I chose firearms for the effect it would have on social discourse, the extra media coverage they would provide, and the effect it could have on the politics of the United States, and thereby the political situation of the world. With enough pressure, the left wing within the United States will seek to abolish the Second Amendment, and the right wing within the United States will see this as an attack on their very freedom and liberty. Won't your attack result in calls for the removal of gun rights in New Zealand? The gun owners of New Zealand are a beaten, miserable bunch of baby boomers who have long since given up the fight. When was the last time they won increased rights? Their loss was inevitable. I just accelerated things a bit. They had long since lost their cities. Take a look at Auckland. Did you really expect they would not lose their rights? These are not the mad ravings of a crazy person. This guy is not a mentally ill schizo who has lost touch with reality. The sarcastic pop culture references he makes in his writings and during the attack are a clear indication of that. Although he is a piece of shit, scum of the earth, murderer of 50 people, under his frame of mind, his writings are coherent and his actions make sense. He sees the current situation as urgent and dire. He has lost all faith in the democratic process. He believes the best course of action is to tear everything down and start from scratch. The faster, the better. And so he acts in the pursuit of that goal. You would think that giving him what he wanted would be a terrible idea. But this is exactly what New Zealand has been doing since the attack. The response to the attack has been three-tiered. First by social media tech giants such as Facebook and Google. Above them, internet infrastructure companies, mainly internet service providers. And finally, the government itself. These three work together in a joint effort at censoring any viewpoint that differs from the official narrative, making it impossible for level-headed people to inform themselves on the matter. They were scrambling, hysterically, to get a hold on the situation before it blows up in their face. Most importantly was to make sure the right kind of information was out there, while the wrong kind was not. Never before have we seen censorship and suppression on such a massive scale. To begin with, we have Facebook claiming to remove 1.5 million videos in the first 24 hours after the attack. Which I highly doubt, but whatever, it's their prerogative. But then we have YouTube shutting down sorting and filtering on their own search function and disabling human moderation of flagged videos while struggling to contain the event. I guess we should be thankful they didn't just outright shut down the entire website, although I wouldn't be surprised if this is what they end up doing in the future. Speaking of shutting entire websites down, you might be aware that YouTube and Facebook are not the only websites on the internet. And those websites who do not adhere to the idea that cracking down on information is the right way to deal with terrorists had to be dealt with. Both Australia and New Zealand ISPs started blocking a giant list of websites. Not only video sharing websites like BitChute, DTube, and LiveLeak, but also news websites like Zero Hedge and lols.com, AR15.com, which is a gun forum, I guess guns are a big no-no now, Vote, which is a Reddit clone, Encyclopedia Dramatica, and archive.is, because we don't want you circumventing our ban using archiving tools, do we? Funny how each of these websites has a mainstream trigger-happy censorious equivalent, isn't it? The same Kiwi ISPs also came out with a letter demanding social media platforms to join them and the government in an urgent discussion, saying that consumers have the right to be protected, and admitting that on the afternoon of March 15, three of New Zealand's largest broadband providers, Vodafone, Spark and 2 Degrees, took the unprecedented step to jointly identify and suspend access to websites that were hosting video footage taken by the gunmen. As key industry players, we believed this extraordinary step was the right thing to do in such extreme and tragic circumstances. Indeed, this is an unprecedented step. And the people who were screaming about net neutrality just last year are now dead silent and nowhere to be found. The fact that the heads of these supposedly competitor companies found the time to meet a short few days after the attack and come up with this letter demanding even more censorship from social media tells you all you need to know. You would think that in an open and free market, at least one of these companies will take advantage of this cowardly act by its competitors and be the one to tell its customers, "See, we are the only ones who don't censor your access to the internet." But no. Just build your own internet is not a meme anymore. In a future crisis scenario, users of these websites will need their own ISPs if they want to maintain access to them. And you can bet your ass they will be coming for your VPN next. In the wake of the attack, we also got to hear what the domain registrar Discount Domains thinks about this. For some reason, hate and violence have no part in our society. Of concern to us is the use of the internet in these attacks, both to research and to stream the events live. You're concerned that people use the internet to do research now? Okay. As New Zealand's largest web hosting company, we have a social responsibility to ensure that our customers are using our services for the public good. Where appropriate, we will take down these websites to ensure our customers are aligned with us on our moral and social responsibilities. It appears that Discount Domains are a bit confused about what they actually are. When did domain registrars become anything other than a mapping between a hostname and an IP address again? Your only responsibility, you fucking idiots, is to direct internet traffic from one place to another. Nobody gives a fuck about your moral sensibilities. Go fuck yourselves. But the actions of these ISPs pale in comparison to what the government has been doing, often following the exact wishes of the shooter. First, we have the New Zealand police going around asking for user information from website owners. Good afternoon. I am hoping that you can help us with an investigation the New Zealand police are working on. On March 15, there was a shooting in New Zealand with multiple fatalities at two mosques in the city of Christchurch. The alleged offender in this matter is Brenton Tarrant. At around the time of the shooting, there were a number of posts and links posted on kiwifarms.net relating to the shooting and Tarrant. We would like to preserve any posts and technical data, including IP addresses, email addresses, etc., linked to these posts pending a formal legal request. Could you please advise what legal process you require for this request, and also confirm preservation of the data requested pending legal process? Kind regards. In response, Josh from Kiwi Farms had this to say. Is this a joke? I'm not turning over information about my users. The person responsible for posting the video and manifesto is myself. I feel real bad for you guys. You've got a quiet nation, and now this attack is going to be the first thing people think of for the next 10 years when they hear the name New Zealand. But you can't do this. Tell your superiors they're going to make the entire country and its government look like clowns by trying to censor the internet. You're a small, irrelevant island nation barely more recognizable than any other nameless Pacific sovereignty. You do not have the clout to eradicate a video from the internet, and you do not have the legal reach to imprison everyone who's posted it. If anyone turns over to you the information you're asking for, they're not only cowards, but they're fucking idiots. My name is Joshua. I'm a US citizen living overseas. And it goes on to give his address. If you're wondering, no, Kiwi Farms has nothing to do with New Zealand. Our name is a pointed jab at some of the mouthwashed autistic people we make fun of. Absolutely nothing about our community is New Zealand oriented. And I do not give a single solitary fuck what section 50 of your faggot law says about sharing your email. Fuck you and fuck your shithole country. Josh. And replies, hey Josh, appreciate your quick response. We'll definitely consider what you have said. Regards. Then we have Privacy Commissioner John Edwards, who sees distribution of the clip as an egregious violation of victim privacy rights, calling on Facebook to hand over the identity of every person who shared the video to New Zealand police, putting them in line for stiff fines or even jail time. So the Privacy Commissioner of New Zealand is threatening the privacy of his citizens. Awesome. If I were a random Facebook user who happened to come across this video, I would be very afraid. In part because, surprise surprise, they are arresting people for sharing the video. Because distributing objectionable materials online comes with stiff legal penalties. One man, the 44-year-old owner of an insulation company with alleged neo-Nazi sympathies, has been arrested and charged with 2 counts of distributing objectionable materials in violation of New Zealand's Films, Videos and Publications Classification Act. He is being held without fucking bail for sharing a video, and could be sentenced to as much as 14 years in prison for each offense. 28 years for sharing a fucking video. But I guess it's okay because he has alleged neo-Nazi sympathies. So fuck him. Another man, a 18-year-old, is also facing charges for sharing the video. Ooh. And these two may not be the only ones in New Zealand facing charges for sharing the video, because authorities, as we've said, have asked Facebook to frame their users. And if that wasn't enough, Masterton woman to be charged over Facebook post. A Masterton woman who posted a message on Facebook about the shooting will be charged with inciting racial disharmony. Racial disharmony. What the fuck is racial disharmony? How far down the Orwellian rabbit hole are we at this point? I've never even heard the term racial disharmony before. I must be losing my fucking mind. Must be some kind of insanity specific to Kiwi society or something. Senior Sergeant Jennifer Hansen said the 28-year-old was reported to police after she published the upsetting message saying it was related to the events in Christchurch and this person's views on what had occurred. Right, so you are officially not allowed to be upsetting, quote unquote, on Facebook anymore. That's just fucking great. Of course, banning the video is not enough. We must also memory hold the manifesto as well. The possession and distribution of a manifesto believed to be written by the suspect behind the Christchurch mosque attack is now illegal in New Zealand, officials said. The Office of Film and Literature Classification announced Saturday that the document is objectionable under the law. There is an important distinction to be made between hate speech, which may be rejected by many right-thinking people, but which is legal to express, and this type of publication, which is deliberately constructed to inspire further murder and terrorism. It crosses the line. But how would you, a plebeian, a simple plebeian, will know if it does cross the line if you are not allowed to read it? Those are hard questions and we do not have the answers to them. Alas, there is still hope. If you do want to read it, New Zealand isn't just banning the Shooter's Manifesto, they are also selling it. Under the Christchurch Attacks Classification Information page on the Office of Film and Literature Classification website, once you scroll past the very articulate excuses as to why they don't also ban Mein Kampf, the Quran and the Bible, and why our freedom of speech is irrelevant in this case, you can open this document to file an exemption. Applying for an exemption to access or hold a copy or copies of the banned document, The Great Replacement. The document distributed online by the accused perpetrator of the March 15 Christchurch terror attacks has been banned by the New Zealand Office of Film and Literature Classification. This means that it is illegal to possess or distribute the document. The chief censor is able to grant exemptions to the ban for specific purposes and to specific individuals or organizations in cases where it is clearly in the public interest to do so. Our decision recognizes that some individuals or organizations may have legitimate reasons to access or hold a copy of the document. Blah 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 blah. Before requesting an exemption, you will, however, need to answer these questions. Why are you seeking an exemption? How long do you want it for? Who will have access to the publication? And how will you keep it secure? Oh, and by the way, it's going to cost you $102.20. I mean, I'm sure the bureaucrats who set this up have a very good excuse as to why they need to charge you $100 to access a simple text file, but come on. The New Zealand government is profiting off of the manifesto written by a guy who killed 50 people in cold blood. It's not even ironic, it's just creepy. And this is the cherry on top. New Zealand bans military-style semi-automatics and assault rifles. On March 15, our history changed forever. Now our laws will change too. We are announcing action today on behalf of all New Zealanders to strengthen our gun laws and make our country a safer place. A safer fucking place. This is the equivalent of banning international flight after 9/11. The New Zealand government are a bunch of headless chickens running around in a panic looking for anything they can find to calm their conscience. The idea that this will make your country a safer place is absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that they came up with this crap in less than a week after the attack with barely any resistance to speak of shows how meaningless your rights are to these people. And frankly, they are making the shooter's argument for him. There was no discussion, no time to heal, no debate, no reasoned argumentation for or against. All there was a reactionary frenzy to trample on your freedom. This is what happens when terrorists win.